What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down two common mistakes that high school wide receivers will make and how you guys can avoid these mistakes and apply these new things that you can learn to your game. So we're going to be talking about how you guys can really attack a DB's leverage and close off the space to get skinny on a route. And then we're going to be talking about how you guys can pair your releases together and one of the mistakes kind of faster wide receivers in the high school space and one of the mistakes they'll make. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it teaches you a few new things about route running, releases, and just the works. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and maybe you struggle, organizing your workouts, you're not sure what to do in the gym, you're not sure what to do on the field, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout plan. What you'll get access to is an 8-week daily schedule with all the gym exercises and on-field drills wide receivers need to do, broken down with sets, reps, and examples of each one. So check out that very first link below, fellas, if you're interested. Let's get started with this video. So first route here is going to be a post route. So this is a common question we get asked, like, how do you run a post when you have this like inside shade press coverage look? And the goal would be not to force the inside release, obviously, because he's inside shade. You'd want to take what he gives you, and that would be the outside release. Now, the mistake that a lot of wide receivers will make is that they don't threaten this DB's leverage enough, right? So off the line of scrimmage, he does the right thing in terms of the release concept, but the mechanics of it are off. So we'll play it, and he doesn't really close space with this guy. He takes the outside release, but if we're faster than this DB and it'd be easy to restack, I have to make sure I actually restack. I can't take a wider stem. So let's break down why this doesn't work. And we're going to show a good example of this route, obviously, second from Rashad Bateman. So when you come off the line and this DB's inside shade, like we said, his sole purpose is to protect the inside. A lot of people will say on this example, oh, well, the reason why this route didn't work is because he took an outside release when he has an inside breaking route. He needs to get on the inside of this DB so he has space to run. But the problem with that is that DB will do whatever it takes possible to protect that inside leverage. He will not give up the inside. So if your main goal is, I'm going to stem him, give him a fake, and try to cross his face, what's going to happen is if you force it, he's going to get hands on you, and he's going to force you all the way to the inside. So conceptually, he did the right thing, but the mechanics of it are just a little bit off. So when he comes at him here, there's really not much of a threaten inside. He doesn't close this gap between the two. You need to really try to almost step on his toes, if you will, and threaten like you're trying to run across his face. Everything about this looks like he's running outside. It doesn't look like he's trying to cross his face and run inside. Now, again, this is a high-level recruit wide receiver, and you see this in a lot of receivers who are not high-level recruits. You see this in receivers at every level. They don't attack enough. They don't threaten enough, and that's why they don't get that separation. Because when you take this outside release, that is the correct thing to do. But we have to make sure that I'm doing one of two things. I am either hip to hip with him running downfield, so if he overcommits, I could throw by and slip under, or I'm working to restack. But when I don't close the space, there's too much of a gap here. Even if, let's say, I did get him to jump to the inside a little bit, and there's too big of a gap, when I take that outside release, I'm giving him space to recover, because I still have to get to about 10 yards. But when there's like a 2-yard gap in between the two of us, that's a 2-yard angle that he has to be able to make that play. The DB will always have a better angle on that vertical type route. So we have to make sure, fellas, we are closing space not only to threaten him inside, to move him off the platform, but so I could restack or be hip to hip with him when I'm running downfield. Because this is a position that we don't want to be in because there's just too much space, because there's really nothing much I could do here. It's not like I could put the brakes on one step and try to slip under. There's too much of a gap, and I can't really restack because he's running pretty fast and he's hip to hip with me. We just have to close that gap. We have to get rid of that gap in between the two of us in this situation. But again, this is a mistake that a lot of wide receivers will make on this scenario. So don't listen to the people who say that, the reason why this didn't work is because he took the outside release. It didn't work because the mechanics were a little bit off. It was the right concept. It was the right thing. We just have to make it a little bit tighter. So let's play this thing full speed, and then we will show a good example of this and how high school wide receivers can learn from this. A lot of times, fellas, high school guys, as soon as they see press coverage, as soon as they see man coverage, they don't see it that often, right? If you're a high school wide receiver, you may see a lot of zone, especially if you're an X or a Z and you're on the outside. And you might think, I don't really need to know this stuff. I never really see press coverage anyways. When you're put in those situations in that example I just showed you, like a camp, like a showcase, or you're just in practice and you're trying to impress a coach, a college coach is there. They're going to want to see how you handle these situations, because at that next level, it ain't going to be zone coverage every time. You're going to get some talented DBs who will walk down, get right in your face, and you better have a plan of action, and you better know why they're playing you a certain way. Okay, so now this example here is from Rashad Bateman. Very similar look that we see. Inside shade coverage. He's running like I would consider more of like a dig, not so much post, but same concept, right? He doesn't want to force this inside release. He doesn't want to try to square him up and then take off. Because again, not only will that post where you get rerouted in a real game, let's say he's running maybe a post route, and let's say the slot receiver is running like a dig. If you get rerouted all the way to the inside and you're like a yard away from the dig, that spacing is horrible because one linebacker could guard both routes. So you have to be comfortable taking that outside release on an inside breaking route and vice versa. So let's play this full speed. So he does a great job actually attacking the inside, getting the DB to flip his hips and having that tight restack angle where he is hip to hip. So let's talk about this. He's not operating behind the line of scrimmage. He's getting into the cushion of the DB. He is closing that space of the DB and actually threatening him to the inside. Because you see this move, the difference between this one and the first one, it actually looks like he's going inside. It actually looks like he's threatening him inside. That is what will get him to move. A DB, when he's in man coverage, where is he supposed to be looking at? He's supposed to be watching our hips, right? So if I can sell with my hips and my shoulders, I'm actually stepping outside of his frame, that I might be crossing his face, that is the best way to get him to move. Doing all these like head fakes, movement behind the line of scrimmage that a lot of younger wide receivers do isn't going to do much. We have to threaten, we have to close the space and actually move him off that platform, because now you see how he's overcommitted to the vertical. We got him to sit to the inside. Okay, now he's going to overcommit. There isn't a big gap between the two of us, and we can easily just slip back underneath, throw him by if we need to, and get the leverage on that inside breaking route. So make sure, fellas, if you're a high school wide receiver, do not get complacent. Don't be that guy who neglects press work, neglects knowing this stuff simply because you don't see it that often. You want to be prepared for any situation, because you never know what a college coach might ask of you. Because I would assume if you're in high school and you're watching this, you probably want to play at the next level. You have to know these situations, fellas, because a college coach is going to want to see if you can beat press. If you can't beat press, because that is what you're going to see at the next level, chances are that's just a reason for them not to offer you, not to recruit you. So let's play this thing full speed one more time. Great job by this wide receiver threatening, or Rashad Bateman threatening to the inside, flipping that DB's hips and being able to slip back underneath. Okay, so now, this is a pretty dang good fade route here by this wide receiver, and we're going to be comparing this to Davante Adams. Now, again, I know that's a big gap in talent. I know it's a high school wide receiver at the time compared to probably the best wide receiver in the league, but I just want to talk about something we know a lot about Davante Adams, is that he pairs his releases together. So what does that exactly mean? So we're not going to spend too much time on this clip particular, but I want to show this clip. So this wide receiver's got this inside shaded look, maybe about 2 yards off, and he's running a fade. So he decides to go with this little hesitation skip and then take off. So the whole point of this release, and I'm going to play at full speed, the whole point of this release is to hesitate to the outside, make the DB think that you're going to hesitate, give a move, and then run a slant, run an inside breaking route. Maybe we've built off of it before. Now, this DB plays it pretty decent, but we're able to get a step on him, especially if you were a faster wide receiver. You know you're faster than the DB you're going against. This is a great release to use. So he comes off the line, hesitates, then takes off, right? That little hezzy go release. Now, this is a great release if you feel like you could get a step on this guy. Now, again, he's pretty tight coverage. He's locked up pretty well, but we're going to talk about how you guys can create more separation than this when you use it. So now we're looking at this release from Davante Adams. So what do we know Adams for? He loves to do that little hezzy skip. DB will jump outside. He hits a crossover move and runs a slant, right? So anytime that you guys are doing releases, so many high school wide receivers don't do this, is you don't pair them together. Because in a high school playbook, it's probably pretty vanilla, the routes that you're running, right? You're probably, especially on the outside, you're probably running a lot of slants, a lot of fades, a lot of posts, a lot of comebacks. Pretty much the extent of it, maybe some digs every now and then, but it's not like you're running complicated routes. But a lot of those routes can build off of each other, especially the slant and the fade. So let's say you've got inside shade coverage like this and you have to run a slant. You could do a little hezzy move, attack the outside shoulder. Maybe that DB starts to widen a little bit. You do a crossover, run the slant. Now, if I wanted to run that fade, I would want to try to keep this DB guessing. I would want to try to keep him on his toes, not know what's coming, so I would do this little hezzy go release. So that's what Davante Adams does. He slides and then he just takes off. Hesitate, take off. And if we could get him by a step, I feel like we got this DB. If I could get him by this, I'm wide open, especially when you have a good quarterback who could put that ball on a dime. But it's all about making your releases look the same. Now, again, maybe in high school you won't get as talented of DBs. You won't get DBs who study film like how NFL guys will, how college guys were. But I guarantee you when you get to that next level, you will. And those DBs look for any little thing. If you run a fade route with only one release and it doesn't look like anything else you're doing, as soon as that DB sees that release, what do you think he's going to be thinking? fade route. If you only show on film that you run a slant with that hezzy move, what do you think he's going to be thinking when you hesitate to the outside? Probably slant. But if you can build off of that, and when you run a fade and you run a slant, you could do that same hezzy move, that DB will start trying to guess, or he'll have to solely rely on his technique. And if he relies on that technique, I maybe get him to sit inside. I could easily win on that fade route. So fellas, make sure that you build your releases together. High school wide receivers don't normally do that. They're not calculated. You have to be calculated in your approach to the game because that's what it's going to take to play at that next level, especially when maybe you're not the biggest guy and maybe you're not the fastest guy. If you lack athleticism and size, you better be the smartest dang player on that field. There is no excuse to not have a good plan every single time off the line and to have a high football IQ. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Adams hesitating, swatting those hands, getting that DB to sit on the slant, and then winning on that fade. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys as usual, and we always appreciate the ideas. It helps keep this channel rolling. So also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver, you want a daily schedule to improve your gym skills, on-field skills, speed, athleticism, route running, the works. Check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.